computer. Bear with me. And oh, it looks like it's recording. This is amazing.
It is. It's recording.
Great. Right.
Amazing.
So I think I'll keep an eye on anyone else that's coming in, but let's just make a start. So I wanted to do the background for this was because we obviously were going to do this workshop, which a lot of you I think were going to come and be on our workshop, which was amazing, and then unfortunately we had to cancel it. So we've now put it online, and it's actually going to be online and going live in the next few weeks, but we wanted to tell you a bit more about the course, but also a bit more about Rebecca, or B as I keep calling you, B. So we've got a series of questions here that I'm going to run through them with you, and then if you would like to ask any questions, please put them in the chat box. So I'm just going to say welcome to you all. It's lovely to see all the lovely faces on here. I can see quite a few people have got their cameras on, so it's really nice to actually see people. I'm finding it really hard not getting out and actually seeing people and speaking to people, because that I think is what I most enjoy about the Enterprise Collective.
Yeah.
What I wondered was how you're doing, B, and how are you all right, and how are you managing?
Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm repeating this for anyone else that joined earlier, but surprisingly, I'm actually dealing with it really well. I was laying in bed thinking about this last night, that I think for my own mental health, I know there's some really awful things going on out there in the world at the moment. But for my own personal mental health state, I have to concentrate on sort of my environment and how I'm adapting to it. I mean, if you'd have asked me sort of three weeks ago as I was leaving my office after we were furloughed, I burst into tears because a little man was trying to cross the road on his bike and no one was letting him go, and I was an absolute mess thinking, how am I going to get through this? I need to see people. But as the weeks have gone by, I've learned to adapt to do things that take my mind off it. We're doing a lot of DIY, and obviously working on the Enterprise Collective content for the workshop online has been a real sort of drive and focus to steer away from all the negatives around everything that's happening at the moment.
And so for you, you've been furloughed with your job.
I have.
And so, but you're obviously still working on your own Instagram accounts and the stuff for us, which is amazing. Yeah. Can you tell us about how you started, like your journey originally on Instagram? How did that all come about?
Yeah, so I joined the Instagram realms probably around 2012, 2013 when it first came out. It wasn't really a big thing, but I just used it to document really rubbish things with a really bad Valencia filter on there, which I don't recommend anyone use. Then I started to really take it a bit more seriously after we got married, and again I needed a focus on something. So 2014 was when we got married, and then 2015 I started to up the ante with working with brands, and then 2016 I actually started working with professional photographers to create content as well that I would then go off and edit myself. And sort of a pinnacle moment for me was probably, I think it was 2000, I can't remember if it was 2017 or 2018. I started being put up for awards for my Instagram photography, and it was just a real driver for creating really amazing content. So yeah, and to the present day, I'm now sat here sort of helping people.
Yeah, which we'll get onto. I want to talk about that.
Yeah,
Before we do that, I want to know where this Queen Beady name came from. Every time I say it, I kind of have to giggle in my head.
Do you know, it's the most embarrassing thing. So when I am working with hotels, because predominantly a lot of my content is travel, when I check in, sometimes rather than putting my name down as B or Rebecca or whatever godforsaken name I'm known as, because there's plenty, so they sometimes put my name down as Queen Beady or as my email address, and I'm going through all the names and then I'm like, oh god, it's not down as Queen Beady, is it? And it's just so embarrassing. And although it's embarrassing, I still wouldn't change it because I think it's quite memorable and people laugh. It's an icebreaker. But where it came from was it's ridiculous. At school, I was quite fast at running, and I will caveat that by saying I don't run fast at all. And one of my friends nicknamed me Speedy Beady because my name was Becky or B or Beck or whatever you want to call me, and my surname was Edie. So we sort of amalgamated it and made it into a Beady. And then at the time, Mean Girls was like a huge thing as well. And then we just, because obviously people call me B, they call me Queen Bee, and it just sort of mashed together, and thus Queen Beady was born, the long-winded version of it.
Do you ever feel like you might want to ditch it? I don't think you can now, can you?
Do you know, I had this sort of internal argument with myself all the time. I think maybe if I was like going to venture out and I had matured and I had a family and content sort of drove in a different way, maybe, but I think the Queen Beady name is just stuck now, and I think it'd be really bizarre to change it despite me being a little bit embarrassed by it. But I kind of decided to just own it and not be ashamed of it, because why, you know, it's a funny story to tell, isn't it?
And so when did you start getting paid for brands for your work?
So paid for brands a couple of years ago. Before that, it was just sort of freebie. I say freebies because there's a lot of hard work that actually does go on behind the scenes. You know, I think people think bloggers and Instagrammers just post something on Instagram, wham bam, thank you ma'am, that's it, done. But you know, if you realise the amount of time it takes to make sure we've got the right shot, then are we in keeping with the brand's tone, but at the same time not compromising our own voice, and then all the promotion of it, the writing of the blog posts, social media posts, you're so many different heads when you're a blogger that I think people forget that sometimes, and we get a bit of a bad rap.
Yeah, you do, and it is a lot of work. I was lucky enough to be invited with B, I don't know if any of you saw this, to go to the spa trip, and it was lovely. Like, we had an amazing time.
We did.
Mainly the facial that was amazing, but it was really hard work. Like, you had to I was like, oh, what are you doing? She's like, oh, I've got to take photos of this, photos of that, and I was like, oh, okay. And I was sort of coming along for the jolly, but actually I was like, this is really quite a lot of work. And then after she'd taken all the photos, she'd got all her information, she'd got all the information from all the therapists and all the stuff, she then had to go and write it all up. And I was like, it's quite faffy in order to get a trip like away for the day. Like, it was quite a lot of work, and it made me think it's quite hard.
Yeah, I think say, like, if you go behind the scenes of it all, it's very different to maybe what it comes across like online.
I had no idea. I honestly thought you just wrote a few words, took a few photos on your phone. She had a camera there. She was like taking really good photos, and I was like, what? And I suppose you've got a responsibility to do a good, you know, if it is good, then you will hopefully get more work from it, you know, if you produce good content.
You know, back in the day when I was a bit naive, I accepted for my first ever sort of brand collaboration, and it was this, and I hate to say it, at the time it was a horrific phone case that I'd had my picture emblazoned on it from our engagement shoot, and at the time I was like, oh, this is amazing. But you do learn to become quite picky with what you accept and what you don't, because of the amount of work that goes into it behind the scenes. So
which kind of brings me on to, like, now, I mean, what's happening now? Are you getting any paid work, or is it?
Unfortunately, it has quietened down, but if I am getting any brand collaborations per se, where there is content that needs to be created, I'm trying to push that in the direction of those bloggers or people who are self-employed. I think the general consensus is the blogging community is lovely, bar a few nasty people, but the general consensus is we are all pretty lovely. And you know, there's been things going around on social media that, you know, if you are actually in full-time work and you've been furloughed or you're still working, you know, give a second thought to the people who might not have that income coming in at the moment. I actually think that's a really nice way of working together with the community. So unfortunately it has quietened down, but fully intend to re-pick up the collaborations that I was previously going to be working on. For example, unfortunately I was meant to be working with Jet2 Holidays in May on a trip to Zakynthos. which
Wow.
was, yeah, really looking forward to, and an absolute sort of major goal that I've been working towards
Yeah,
in
that's
my blogging
amazing.
career. And unfortunately, timing just, these last few years, it's never really worked out when we've been chatting. And then finally, we've been working on getting some content together, and it's not going ahead because obviously the flights have been cancelled to, I think, something like May the 17th with Jet2. So, but better
So
to
what
be
have they
safe than
said?
sorry.
Have they said they postpone it with you, or?
Yeah, so we're going to re-pick up the talks later on in the year, because obviously by then the direction might have changed with the brief.
Right.
They might be concentrating on city breaks or a certain aspect. And what we were looking at was, I write more about sort of luxury for less. So I was going to head to one of the sort of luxury hotels, and write about that experience. So it just depends what the parameters are later in on the year in their marketing plan.
Oh, I see. Wow, wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Though, what a good job that was. Hopefully, it'll come
Yeah.
back off. So, how
I'm
do you
sobbing
manage to?
internally though.
Yeah, how do you manage to like do all this and have a job?
Oh, really
A lot
good
of people,
question.
yeah, a lot of people do this. They manage like lots of jobs. Like for me, I'm doing like 3 jobs, but with 3
Yeah.
children. And some people are doing, are like going out to work and doing, being a blogger as well. How the hell do you manage?
I just don't sleep. I know. I
Don't
know.
say
I
that.
actually I get a good 8 hours, and I need my sleep. I'm just really savvy with my time. I'll use lunch breaks to write up things, or go out and shoot photos on my lunch break. Because a lot of my content is predominantly sort of, if I'm not abroad, is about the local area and sort of championing that. So
I have
I'll go out
noticed,
and,
like, since working with you, I've noticed how you are quite organised. You're quite like, this is my meeting time. I have an hour. We are
yeah.
and we're like, and I'm like, oh, okay. Whereas my meetings will run on for hours and hours and hours. And you're quite efficient. You're like, no, we've only got this time. We've got to get this done. Now we've got to do it. And I think that's helping me almost. Thanks.
I think, yeah, it keeps you focused that you've got this set amount of time, and you just need to bulk do whatever you're doing, whether it be sort of the meetings that we have together with the Enterprise Collective, or if it's I'm writing a blog post, or if I'm editing photos, or spending a set period of time interacting on Instagram, for example. It's just being conscious of your time, but then don't let anything fool you. Sometimes I can sit there for hours, and I'll be sat on Candy Crush or something, or binging Netflix.
I can't believe you do that.
What, Candy Crush or Netflix?
Louise has written, lots of people criticise bloggers and influencers for getting paid an amount for a post,
Right.
but they're getting paid for years of work to build up an account and engage an audience. Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
And then lots of work behind the scenes. Yeah, I do find. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
No, it is really frustrating, because a lot of newspapers like the Daily Fail and the Sun, they just like to make us sound like really contrived human beings. There's a girl that I follow close on Instagram, and she's got a beautiful feed. It's very different to mine, but I am in awe of the amount of work that she puts in, because she works part-time and obviously tops up her income with Instagram mainly. And she's been featured so many times in these horrible rags about, oh, she stood in front of someone's magnolia tree, and she got absolutely ripped to shreds for it. And at the end of the day is, with my Instagram, I want to provide a realistic space for people to chat and feel comfortable. And it really saddens me to see that people are also trying to do that, but just seem to get absolutely ripped for it all the time. And luckily, the worst comment I've ever had was on a blog post that I'd said that my cup of tea at this brunch place in Leeds was really tasty. The blend was lovely. And someone was like, oh, it's only a tea bag and a bit of hot water. And that's the worst I've got it.
That's not bad then. So
not bad at all. I'm just going to let my dog out. I'm really sorry about this. She's whining to go out.
Oh, she's like, it's all right. At least it's not my children. I've sent them all outside, everybody. Everyone's like wondering where they are. They run away.
So it is really, really sad that
there are
people do
quite
get that.
a lot of bloggers now. Like there are loads. How do you find like your voice? Like I'm looking over here, but I'm actually here, aren't I?
Yeah, I can see there's a question
How do you get your voice out there?
Yeah, I mean, it does take a few years to really find your feet. I mean, I've been blogging since, was it 2011? So nearly 10 years now. And it was after my wedding that I think I started to get into the flow of writing about travel. And even though I worked in travel previously to that, I felt like as soon as I left the travel industry, I could talk about it more openly and freely without being sort of constrained to sort of thinking about work.
Yeah.
And it's just, the main advice I would give is, if you are thinking, even on your Instagram post as a brand, just make sure that it's consistent. Once you've found the style that you like and you enjoy writing, because if I was going to sort of go on to this in my tips, but if you're not consistent, it's going to really confuse people. And I think that's why I sort of maintain sort of a healthy balance of followers, because
Yeah,
I've not
you don't go up and down.
yeah, I mean, obviously algorithms and things that have come into play in the past have sort of slowed down sort of growth of followers, but I've always tried to keep the tone very similar, so it doesn't go off piste and confuse people. Because I think I could, if I started, obviously I write about travel in the local area, if I suddenly started talking about, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something ridiculous and out there, because mine's lifestyle, so certain things come into play. But if I just started doing something really off the wall, people be like, what on earth is she talking about?
Yeah.
Like, who is
you've
this?
got to
This
keep
is
it
not
quite consistent.
Yeah.
So you've also started coaching people.
Yes.
Which is amazing. And I know you're doing Hannah as well, everyone, I think Hannah is actually on here. She's probably got her video off, hasn't she?
Yeah. So obviously, there was a call out that I wanted to. Obviously, over the last few years, I've done quite a few talks and sat on panels. And obviously, when it got to yours, I was like, I really, really enjoy sort of sharing my knowledge. With people. In a non-contrived, businessy way, if you know what I mean. Because I think there's a lot of business coaches out there that like sell. Anyway, so I really loved coming to do the talk, and I think last year it was like a real brainwave for me. I'm just going to shut the door. A real brainwave for me that was something that I really wanted to. Oh, sorry, I just got a huge shot of my nose there. Continue. And it was actually working with a coach called Sophie, who we'll probably be letting you know about later on in this call, because we've got a webinar with her later on this week. Was like a mind-blowing experience for me, and it really helped me define what I wanted out of life. And I was obviously turning 30 last year, and not that I binge drink all the time, but I was going out loads of weekends and drinking and then feeling really anxious. And I was like, what am I doing with my life? Like, surely there's got to be more purpose. I mean, I love my blog, but I feel like I need to give back. And then we sort of fleshed it out for 6 weeks. And, we got to this point where it's like, you're in a position to be able to share your knowledge. You've won awards, you've spoken at events, so this is your time to sort of shine and thrive from that. So I put a call out before, obviously, everything happened with COVID, and I offered 3 coaching spots, free, sort of get the ball rolling. We haven't started yet, because I'm trying to get all the sort of meeting, scheduling, appointment, so many things to think about, the scheduling websites, obviously the content that I want to cover with these people. So I did message them the other day just to say it's coming very soon, hang fire with me. I've got a few little projects obviously with yourself at the moment. I just need to sort of finish, dot the I's and cross the T's, and then we'll be ready and raring to go.
That's great.
I'm really looking forward to getting
quite lucky to have you, especially like for you to offer your services for free. I love like talking to Bea. She's always like, why don't you try this? And I'm like, oh, I didn't think of that. she always comes up with different ideas, things that you've tried or seen others do. And yeah, I think your ideas are great. I really do love them. We've got a few questions over on
Okay,
the
yes,
thing.
sure.
Yeah. So someone has put, how long do you spend on social media every day? I'd love to know that.
That is a really good question, and I think recently I found myself scrolling, but not really doing much about it. If that makes sense. I think it's just a really strange time at the moment. But yeah, it's a couple of hours a day, which I don't think is too bad considering, you know, there's people that, because I don't set that thing on my phone. I think you can do it on Instagram when it notifies you when you've been on a certain amount of time. I think if I did that, I would just, I'd never touch it. So,
Something, I don't know how I've done that, but it pops up on my thing and
yeah,
it tells me, and I'm like, don't tell me how long I've been on it.
I try not to.
You try not to, yeah. Someone says, how do you get your name and brand out to new people on Instagram? I wondered if I didn't help myself using the same hashtags most of the time. So yeah, you should obviously change your hashtags and all. Yeah, go.
Yeah. Utilize. You've got so I think I said this in our York Enterprise Collective. The talk that I did is you've got 30 hashtags. Instagram allows you to use 13 hashtags, so use them. And there's a lot of conflicting information out there that people say, well, don't spam it. But why would Instagram give you that option to use 30 if they didn't want you to use it? My phone actually pops up and tells me when I've used my 30 and that I can't do any more. So what I would suggest is, if you are wanting to use different hashtags, which I suggest, I think you should have at least, I think, a bank of about 300 hashtags for your content, sort of stored away on your phone. So type them into your notes so you can copy and paste them. I think there's a really clever thing that you can do on your iPhone, where if you hold something down, forgive me if I'm not giving you this information correctly, but it's worth looking into, because I've moved on to a different phone now. But you can put something into your phone and it auto populates those hashtags that are linked to whatever word you're putting in.
There is an app actually called something or something like that, where they generate it and they give you lots of I think there are loads of things. Do you think it's important to change the hashtags every time?
Yes, definitely. It is. It's very important. Now I use there are a couple that I do use myself a lot, and that's because they're my own hashtags and I'm building that community, and obviously it's relevant to the content I'm creating. But what I'd suggest, if you are obviously looking for different hashtags to use, if you put into the search bar on your explore page the hashtags that you're using, head to that, and then at the top you'll see there'll be about 10 different hashtags that are linked to that people use alongside the one. So if I put in my hashtag happy cells, which is my community, things like hashtag the Uncool Club or finding the joy in every day would pop up. So start sort of looking at different hashtags that you like to use, and then make a note of the ones that you know stand out to you, that are very in keeping.
Faye, do you think that answers that? Yeah. Oh, she's going, yeah. Yay.
Sorry,
I can see some people on the video. Some people have got their videos, but I can see Faye. So we've got another question. It'd be great to see bloggers focusing on UK tourism, but not just the big players who have a marketing budget to spend. Do you ever feature small independent businesses?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, you do, don't you? You always say that.
Yeah, I think that. Sorry, go on, Carrie.
I'm sure you're aware there are a huge number of small independents who currently have no income and haven't had any government help and will really benefit from. Yes, definitely. This is Leslie. Like people like B, like, you know, you do really good things with locally.
Yeah, local bloggers, absolutely. It's one of my favourite things to do, because I feel like I'm going to tap into certain things that we're going to cover later on. But no, it's fine. Don't worry. If I'm answering them now, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that the beautiful thing about local businesses is they have like their own voice. Whereas you've got these big marketing budgets for larger brands who have to be very strict with what they say online. And that's the beauty of working with bloggers and local businesses, is you've got this wide open space to work together without being sort of put into a little box and marginalized with what you're saying and what you're doing. And you can be really creative with the content that you come up with. So absolutely. And I mean, there's other areas of business that I've got sort of going off in the back of my head that I'm thinking about, and sort of helping sort of local brands connect with bloggers that sort of fit within their narrative is something that I'm possibly sort of looking at doing in the future. So,
I think Leslie needs to send you an email or a
yeah,
message.
definitely.
Just send a message on Instagram. I'm sure Bea would love to work with you.
Yeah, please.
She can put. Oh, I'm sure. And she also knows loads of bloggers as well.
Yeah, that's it.
That might fit with your brand better.
Exactly.
Someone's put, even though my page is all about Yorkshire, I tend to visit places like Scotland and often get the small businesses that I see seen.
Yeah.
I do have a different logo and a different name, but I keep it all on the same page. But I'm debating creating a new page, especially for when I travel around England.
Okay, so I think what we need to establish here is, when you say a new page, is that a new page on the same website, or are you thinking of doing a new website for that?
This lady goes on. She said, one thing I made from before starting my page was start a notebook on hashtags. Oh, she's just telling it. Sorry. And I tend to use Yorkshire hashtags as promoting Yorkshire. That's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone can see these. I'm reading it really badly. You can see me reading it in the chat. If no one can find that, it says on your bar.
Yeah,
can you read it?
Yeah, here we go.
They might read it better than me. On Preview, you can create groups of hashtags and then click a group you want to use. Yes. Oh, didn't know that.
There's loads of little...
That's from Sarah. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Right, sorry. So we've gone a bit off track there.
So the Scotland content.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
I would, obviously, on my website, I have got like a drop down that's sort of like things to do in Yorkshire, things to do in the local area, and sort of things abroad. So you don't have to pigeonhole yourself and create a whole new page for it, or website, whatever you're wanting to do. Just as long as I think it's consistent with how you talk about Yorkshire. Obviously.
Yeah, so a lady's just written, the same lady, it would be an Instagram page, and they don't have a website at the moment.
Okay.
Owing to how expensive one. So I don't know who this is. I'm not very good.
Is it
but
Yorkshire Partridge?
Yeah. Oh, there.
Yeah. Okay. So no,
you can make your own.
I mean, so first of all, websites don't have to be expensive. No. So I started out using wordpress.com, which is completely free to use. The only thing with that is you do have wordpress.com in the website address first of all, but you can obviously actually go out and buy a domain, which would take the WordPress out. It's only then you can obviously upgrade eventually to being self-hosted, where you can completely tamper with how the website looks. I'm not quite as technical, so I tend to buy my themes, but I paid about £30 for a theme, and that's been on there for a few years now. And my hosting I just paid for the other day was £30 for 3 months. So if you sort of...
Yeah, you can do this.
You can absolutely do it.
Yeah, I mean, I made the one on Wix for the Enterprise Collective. I made that. I mean, it's not great. Don't look at it perfectly, properly. But if I can do it, you can do it. And especially now we've all got all this time. You can go on there.
Such a perfect time now to start learning how to do these things.
All it is templates, and you drop and drag it in, and it's really easy. So definitely you can do that. Right, we need to get... everybody's really excited to be working with you on this workshop. Can you tell us a bit more about it?
Yeah, of course. So this was our workshop that we had planned for March, but obviously got cancelled due to COVID. But I am tinkering with it at the moment to add a little bit of extra content here and there. So the digital workshop is the art of visual storytelling, and about finding your voice in your community online, and also finding your theme and how you want to be perceived online. So it's about, I mean, if you think about it, it's crazy because there's about 1 billion monthly users on Instagram. So it's a huge market to expand into if you're not present on there, or not as present as you'd like to be. And it's about defining your brand position, but again, as I've mentioned previously, but not in a really salesy way, which will lead you to obviously finding a better community and a better customer tribe. So it's really about getting to the heart of what makes your customers tick, getting into the mindset of them, and also finding really good stories from within your business that you can share with people, and encourage them to come and interact with you, and just create a sort of more deeper, meaningful relationship with those who are buying your products or services.
So
and find that passion.
Yeah, what sort of people would find this useful?
So, I mean, again, it would be for anyone who has started a business recently, or is currently doesn't know where to go or what direction to take their Instagram presence at the moment. And it's about helping people find their voice and their vibe. And I'm really sorry, I've got a really sore throat.
No, it's okay.
And just give them a bit of a boost.
So how does it work, and what's included in it?
Okay,
so my children are coming out. They've not run away.
So at the moment, there's currently 7 sessions that we'll work through, which will include sort of audio and tests and questions that you'll work your way through, kind of like what we would have done at the workshop, but in a digital format. So if you've got a printer, that's great, because you'll need to print off the workbook. And sort of there's also a bit of participation with other people that are on the course as well. So we can work together to provide feedback in one of the sessions on what our Instagram feeds look like and how people, perceive them. Sometimes it's quite easy to get in your own head about where you're going and what you're doing, and sometimes an outside perspective can really help push you.
I find that the most useful thing ever.
Yeah.
Especially when I talk to you, I'm like, what do you think to this? And then you go, wow, have you thought about this? It's really interesting.
That's it. It's about providing a sort of a safe space to be able to do it as well, because obviously we don't want people to come along and be like, oh, this is rubbish, you're doing this wrong. Like, it's about being constructive and taking those points on board and working together, because we're all in it together, aren't we? At the end of the day, we all want to see our businesses thrive and survive through not just COVID, but in the future as well.
Yeah.
So, it's a perfect opportunity to come on board and work with a close team, because we'll have a closed private Facebook group as well, that we'll be chatting on and discussing what we found from each session, and just bounce ideas off one another. And I'll also be available as well on email if you do have any questions about where you're going. And at the end, obviously, there's the reflections, and if there is any sort of further advice that you'd like from myself, we'll sort of take everything that we've looked at through the course and sort of have a bit of a one-to-one, and just make sure that you're clear on the direction of where you're going with your Instagram pages, to be able to sort of create relationships with your customer, and obviously make sure you're monetizing as well.
Yes.
But the main focus of it is it's not based on stats and numbers and figures. It's about sort of being authentic, and I know that word is pushed around a lot in the community, but until you really sort of get to the heart of that, the other bits don't follow.
Yeah. So on there, I missed that bit earlier where did you talk about the Facebook group?
Mm-hmm.
You've done that bit?
Yes, I have.
Sorry. So that's I think will be a really good part of it as well, so that people can chat on there, ask ideas, and actually get involved through that as well, and
Yeah.
you will be there managing it and answering questions.
I will
And
indeed.
oh my gosh, they're all coming now. This is a disaster. Go downstairs.
It's fine.
They're all hungry. Is it lunchtime? No.
Nearly.
Not lunchtime yet. This is the mall. Right, can you go down? I'm going to come down. Go downstairs.
I know what we can do. We can make a zip line for
Okay.
our toys.
Okay, go and have something to eat.
What can I have?
Anything. Just go. Sorry about this. Oh my gosh. This is
life as we know it at the moment, though, isn't it? I was saying to Carrie and Louise the other day, I applaud anyone that is doing this COVID with children.
They've eaten like the whole of the
Do you mean
kitchen.
we can have chocolate cake?
Yeah, go and have chocolate cake. Just go. Oh my God. Luckily for me, a little bit of chocolate cake they can have. Yeah. Sorry, God. Oh my gosh. It's an absolute nightmare trying to do any sort of work with them. So I'm sure that there are. I'm looking at the list. There are loads of us on here that are trying to do this. It's really quite
Honestly,
scary.
I
And just eating my kitchen, the whole thing. Got no food left. I'm going to go out again. So if anyone's got any questions, can they message you, and can they so DM you on Instagram, they can send you an email, any questions at all about this course. We're hoping to launch it in the next 2 weeks. We're going to be talking a lot more about it, about the different content that we've got in it coming up. So if you think it's for you, then please hop on and join us on the course. We're only going to be doing this workshop once. We're not going to do it again. We are hoping to launch a big e-course in September, but this is it now, and we won't be doing anything over the summer because we've got millions of children. So if you would like to get inspired about your business and learn where you're going with your brand, then you need to do this now, basically before September, when the next one will come out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, it's a perfect time to do this because you've got a bit of time to really focus on it. But yeah, absolutely. Please do. When you've joined the course, I am open to DMs and emails, and we'll be there as your sort of your guide and your creative coach. And effectively, we'll just be doing it in a group environment.
I think the other thing to note is that we're also going to limit the numbers. I think I've done quite a few courses online where there are loads of people and you're like, oh, and you just feel like you're not really getting that one-to-one, experience.
Yeah, exactly.
So by limiting the numbers, you should be able to experience that, and you should be able to feel like you could contact any of us at any time, or and if you've got any specific questions on it. So that's one of the good things. And I think in terms of timing wise, so it should go live in the next 2 weeks. We'll try and do a live, I think, maybe on Instagram before, just to tell people if they've got any more questions.
Yeah, sure.
More people are writing. Oh, I'm missing questions. And what else was I going to say? I'm just checking my questions. I think that's it from us, B, isn't it?
Yeah.
The only thing to mention is on the Enterprise Collective, B is obviously helping it a lot more with us, which we are so pleased about. And we are going to be trying to do these webinars more often. It's taken us quite a while to get our act together and get on here, but I'm really pleased that this has actually worked. And it's like connected up, although the camera's still not working on my I'm on my phone here and on my computer up here, and I've got a random phone here, so we're slowly getting there. But we want to be able to bring to you different people that can offer advice on different subjects, so completely random subjects. There might be somebody talking about marketing, there might be somebody talking about how to cope with dealing with isolation. If you feel that you know somebody that might want to come and do one of these talks with us, or you yourself would like to come and do a talk, please get in contact with us. We've got a big growing long list, and we hope to do them weekly, and we're going to try to do it at 11 o'clock on a Friday or maybe a Thursday, and either a question and answer or somebody doing some sort of presentation. But we want to be able to help people, inspire people, and just like motivate people. I'm finding it really, really hard at the moment to do any sort of work and get get motivated at all. So anything like this I've been loving online, and I've been loving listening to workshops. I'm actually doing a film workshop this week, which I'm so excited by, because I just feel like I'm not being creative at all in any sort of way. I'm just selling fabric, which is great, but it's not, I don't have any drive to draw any new designs. I can't go out and take any photos of people, you know. I'm finding it really hard. So I'm really excited that will hopefully get me motivated this week. So any ideas that you have that we could be doing on these Zoom chats? We've all managed to make it on here and listen, and nobody had their microphones on or their videos on, which is amazing. Can't believe it.
I've got a couple of tips for those who might be finding it a bit more difficult. Obviously in these times, Carrie, if you do need to just nip off and go see the kids, don't worry about it, because these are a few tips.
Eating all the chocolate cake. Yeah,
if you want to go see what they're doing, you're fine. So obviously, like Carrie said, who obviously does photography as one of her businesses, is finding it really hard to obviously do that side of her business because she can't get out and photograph people's products, can't photograph family portraits and what have you. So we're all having to really adapt to what we're doing. So I've seen, if for example, if you're a photographer, people have been offering their editing services as well. So just remember to be creative with what you're offering. But if you are creating products and new services for your brand in this time, my tip to you is use your surroundings with what you've got. I, for example, are going to start doing some little shoots in my home to make sure I've got some Instagram content coming up. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a dining room chair, I'm going to grab a white sheet, and I'm going to put the things that I want to photograph on it, and voila, you've got your own little mini studio or suite that you can use. And just get to grips with, not everyone will have a Canon Canon DSLR or Nikon. So get to grips with your phone. There's some really amazing phones out there, and the capabilities of them are incredible.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've just been James has just got this whatever new iPhone thing. I have no idea what numbers they are, but it is amazing. I was taking photos the other day, and I was like, this is like, I felt I can't bother to get my camera out. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it was amazing, the quality you can get by playing around and editing. It's really good.
I found that I was, and I have to say this #ad, because I was actually gifted the Huawei P30 Pro. So just got to put that out there when I'm talking about it. And it's got a Leica quad camera in it.
Yeah, it's really nice.
And to be able, I can create the depth of field by playing around with the Pro filter, the Pro selection, and change the aperture. So just play around with your own phone cameras as well. And I think, for me, actually, I've been way more inspired with my photography going out on these daily walks that we're allowed and playing around with my phone camera than I have in a very long time. So if you can, try and reignite that sort of spark and passion for whatever it is that you are doing at the moment. That's how I'm doing it with what I've got at the moment. Because remember, people are consuming content as well on Instagram in a bit of a daze at the moment. And without really putting the legwork in at the moment, you're not going to get a huge response unless you've got a massive account. So, spend time creating some really amazing content just by sort of doing that home studio thing that I've said and set up, or as you're going out on a walk, and if it's relevant to the content that you create, use that. I would say, is I did an example last night, didn't I, Carrie? I logged on to the Enterprise Collective and I spent about 45 minutes to an hour interacting with all the brands,
which was really good.
And in an hour we'd gained 12 followers in the space of an hour, just from putting the legwork in. And I think that is sort of the key message I would say here, is things aren't going to fall into your lap at the moment, but if you can still find the passion to create, and sort of keep up with what you're doing, sort of commenting and interacting with your followers and new accounts as well, that's sort of what's going to sort of bring people in their droves.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I was very impressed with Bee's 45 minutes or whatever it was last night. I was like, how have you done that? But I think you have to be in the right mood to do it, and you've just got to sit and concentrate and engage with what you feel is relevant and write back. I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
Very good. Are there any more questions? Some people are going. and if you have anything else that you want to ask us, please send us messages and we will happily answer them. And keep watching obviously on the Enterprise Collective and on Bee's account for us when we're going to launch the thing to go live. Again, the numbers, we will try and limit them so that it's not overwhelmed with people. So if you do want to do it, have a really good think about it. I think at the moment we've priced it, we've got to put it into our thing to check out how much fees they take off. But I think we're going to charge £45. Is that right?
Yeah, which is the same price as the workshop. We didn't want people to miss out or you know, lose the great content that they were going to get on that day, so that hopefully there won't be too much of a fight to get to the end. But yeah,
and it's also a workshop that you can work through in your own time. If you're like me and you'll have to do it like over several days or weeks, then it's really good. If you want to do it all in one day, you can do it in a day. You know, it's like it will be different worksheets that you can work your way through to help you in your business, and obviously then ask us questions along the way. But yeah, so have a think and tell people about it as well. If you know anybody that's starting a business, already got a business, or lost along the way, this could really help them get back on track and get focused before the summer, when we'll then launch our proper big e-course. Yeah. Okay, right, now I'm babbling and they've probably eaten all the cake.
Eating you out of house and home. But yeah, do, as Carrie said, just message me if you've got any questions. If we've not been able to get to them today, I'm conscious that we're sort of coming up to the hour now, and I'm sure you've got plenty of things to do about your day. So just message me. I know. How is it lunchtime? It's about the only thing that I can concentrate on at the moment is dinner time, breakfast, and dinner, evening meal. So I'm gonna go get some sustenance now.
Okay, bye bye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
I need to screenshot it. I didn't know how to do that. There we go. I didn't know how to do that. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody. See you soon. I don't know how to. I'm going to slowly turn it off. Bye. I think people will start leaving now. Oh, Louise is there. Your camera's now on, Louise. Hello. Hi, Charlotte. I think. Are you there? Hello. Oh, I don't know how to leave. Do I just need to edit the group? I need to stop recording, don't I?
I think you've got to end it, I think.
Stop. Oh, have I stopped recording? Pause recording. Pause.